Well, we've done 3. Now we're on the 4th. So only 3 left to go. Bruniquel again, and we've already done one of an area like this. Again, straight in, and we're going to be dealing with rocks and slabs this time. And we're dealing with cliffs, rocks and slabs, and the buildings here. But there's a lot of nothingness going on, especially in the sky. So I want to make the sky, make more of the sky. I'm going to do a broken colour effect with the sky with a lot of pinks, magentas and yellows, so you have a very vibrant sky against this rock. And I'm going to make the sky in perspective, in other words like a wagon wheel, so that it leads the eye into here, and then we've got this explosion of leaves and so on coming up. Okay, another painting to start then, Bruniquel again, and this time, as I mentioned the other day, we're going to start on the sky here with a 1/2 inch by doing broken colour, and I'm going to start actually with a very light blue, 3 colours onto here probably. I just want to get this covered first of all. So we'll use the turquoise and white straight away just to get this covered. So stage 1 sky. I'll do broken colour over it because I really want to get a nice lively sky. I'm going to put pink over this and then yellow over that, and that might sound a bit strange, but you see, this is how the Impressionists worked, because they got the effect of light by fooling the eye. And this time I mustn't forget to go down around the edges. I forgot a space last time that was there. See how the pencil just blends in, but it's quite handy to be able to see my pencil marks at this stage, and they will be fixed with the paint anyway, so if I have a little bit too much pencil here and there, it doesn't really matter because the paint will fix it all in as I go over, getting my underpainting done. I'm going to get rid of this white as soon as I can, because it's so off-putting having white. So I'll get this base coat of light blue. Cerulean blue would do just as well as this turquoise. In fact, this turquoise isn't far off the cerulean. Right down and round. And I'm going to go slightly over the trees because I want the light shining through the trees so I can bring the darks across that. Slap it on with a big brush. If I was doing a bigger painting, I'd be using a bigger brush still, the chances are, for this very purpose. Right down into the tree, so you can just see the drawing of the tree through it there. Right down around there, make sure we get these edges down here, don't want bits of white canvas showing. Now, almost straight away onto that, I'm going to make a very light pink. So the light pink, I want a cool light pink, so it's going to be magenta and white. Again, always start with the white, because if you try to do it the other way around, you'll end up with a gallon. So magenta and white, let's just do that a test on that, here we go. Now little strokes coming into this, and I'm going to do it in crisscross fashion. While it's still wet, just blending in. So I want this lovely effect of light. If you look at the painting, it just comes off as a sort of light pink. So if you look at the photograph, it just comes off as a sort of light pink. So hardly, you know, it's almost just a block of white almost, because the photographs tend to bleach out, especially when you take photographs of both light and dark objects. If you're a serious photographer and you understand the need to take 2 photographs for a painting, one of the sky without the land in it, and one of the land trying to get rid of all of the sky, because the thing is that the camera compensates for the light and dark, and if you take just the sky, which is lighter, your camera will compensate downward and your sky will be much darker and you'll get all the colours. If you then want the land, if you then leave the sky out, the land won't be so dark, the land will be darker, and you can see the colours of both, so you have both photographs to work from. So if you're going to want to work from a photograph, it's best to take two. Now look at that lovely effect we get. And I was going to work this into a slightly slight perspective. In other words, I was going to bring these marks inwards. I don't think I'm going to actually have to, because it's quite lively like that. Now I'm going to take a little bit of cadmium yellow into that and just look how bright that makes it, and just bring those little marks into it as well. And to blend those in just gently, it gives me sort of greeny colour there, so it mixes with the blue. So we've got a lovely impressionist piece, and these colours are fooling the eye from a distance. Lovely bright piece now. And quite a different sky to the other paintings. Get rid of that. Brush, too much yellow on there now, we'll go back to the pink a bit. And we'll just brush in this pink into the blue, soften those bits of yellow back a bit again, a little bit strong. Nice and vibrant sky. Which from a distance will sing and give us this lovely French effect of a slightly misty sky and a hot day behind it. There we go. So stage one, sky, done. Now let's work on to the buildings. We want just a basic background there before I put the light colours over. So I'm going to mix up a mid-grey there. Take my ultramarine blue, a wee touch of the burnt sienna again to make a grey. Let's just test that. I want quite a dark colour on there first of all. There we go. Quite a nice mid-grey, brown grey. Blue and brown always give us nice greys. So we can usually make a grey not with black and white, but by using the variety of blues that you'll have in your palette. And there can be many. I usually keep cobalt, cerulean, turquoise, ultramarine and Prussian in mind, and that gives me almost everything I want. Buildings down here. I'll put the light over the top of these in just a moment. So I'm just making these darker building tops. I'm going to give a wash of this right throughout the building in just a moment, because I want this dark blowing through underneath. So these paintings might look a little bit crude close up to you, because remember I'm painting on a small scale here. These are only about 1'3" by 1'1" or something like that. They're quite small canvases, and these brush marks, you know, work from a distance. But when you're close up, of course, they are just brush marks. So it's hard for me to show you these paintings from a distance, because being so small, they're going to show larger on the camera, if you see what I mean. But you get the idea. But from a distance, anyway, they all blend and they merge as they should as impressionist pieces. Right, now I want to put a glaze of that colour on there so I can still see the light underneath. I'm going to bring this, make a wash of this grey, and just spread it all the way across here so I can just see my drawing underneath. And I'm letting the colour vary slightly in places with the blue mix coming into it. So I get an underpainting, I say just the same as I'd work out of doors, in the fact that I would be getting rid of this white canvas as quickly as possible. Hope you're enjoying this French series here, Tarn. Obviously I'm in the cruise now, which is quite different. But I've been painting on plein air here, and there's plenty of that work available for you to see. Now wherever else that colour is, if you see it anywhere else, now's the time to pack it in. So what have we got here? Comes down here. Grayer now. I need to make that a bit stronger. So it's gone a bit, it's only got a bit much white in it. A little bit of brown, a little bit of blue. Just work these darks in. Maybe even a touch of Prussian into there, just to make it a bit darker here. Yeah, here we go. And we'll just bring these darks in and round and down. So this is quite a good base grey for this particular painting. A bit darker just there. Let's take the Prussian now. I'm going to use the Prussian on the brown, dark sienna, just to go a bit darker. Places like this, these roofs out, so you can get the feel of it. Don't know if I can do these small, let's just see what I just do these little arches here. Come down to these tops of the trees, I'll do those with this colour. Right down here into the yellows where they're going to come in there. Nice big loose brushwork. I'll work the lighter colours over this shortly. And we can bring those trees. Now if we use the brush edge to feather up here, bring these trees up, just feather across so we get the feeling of trees just coming up at the edge like that. Techniques, brush skills. There we go. Right up through here, into the edges here. Put some more of that same dark up, but soon use it up. And we've got the same happening there with these trees. Wherever those darks are, we'll just put them, let them come in across here. And we can bring the lights across here afterwards. I've already done the most difficult of the paintings. These paintings are a little bit easier now because I can use different techniques. Like warm down in there, and here. Bring some more brown into these areas. A little bit of purple in there as well. See the subtle differences I'm making in these changes of colour as we go on. So I bring some of the warms into here, you see the differences between the warms and the cools. Now, I'm going to put a wash of this slightly purple colour through here now, because I'm going to let my lighter oranges and creams shine over this. And if I have any gaps, this purple will just show through nicely. So lovely and quickly, quick study, and then if we start loose we can finish tight as always. Don't have to worry. Start loose, finish tight. We can't start tight, finish loose, it's impossible. Or very difficult anyway, that's nothing impossible. Now I'll start mixing up some greens to go in here. In a moment, I'm going to build these lovely various greens, and rather than use a green at the moment, we've already got blues and yellows in our palette. I'll just take some of the ultramarine blue and we'll add that and a little bit of white to some yellow ochre. Warm yellow green, not far off the yellow ochre, just to start off up here. into some of these areas for the greens. Let's look at these warms a bit more. They're coming down not only across the greens but also into the background for the stonework and rocks here as well. That yellow ochre and white is going to also come quite strongly. Right, now I'm going to take some of the cerulean blue and add that to the yellow ochre, still giving us some quite deep green yellows. So we're going to make our greens today with, there we go, look at that lovely warm green coming up here. Quite thick, I'm using the paint quite thickly here, just letting the tip of the brush glaze it, tickle it onto the end here, get the feeling of these leaves lighter over the, right up to the ends of these branches here, just tickling the ends as the sunlight, this little light is just catching across them. And just a little bit of lighter green on later, quite subtle changes of colour then. And I've got to mix a bit more of that strongly, so I'll take more of that yellow ochre and let these this underpainting which I was doing now start to glow through. You've got to lose all the bits of white, that's the important thing here. Any of this, I'm using the brush quite dryly in a way to get rid of, and that's going to come, so that green comes actually into the rocks and the stonework here. Paint the whole of this now, underpainting with this colour, because I'm going to put quite a light yellow back on top in a minute. And we can let that, again when we come to the edges here, we can let that break up into here as we come over. The paint must be thick enough to do that, of course. We've got to have, if it's too thin, it won't even cover the join of the two, the light and dark, and that's what we've got to do here. I'll let that dry off a bit. I'll go back up into the stonework here. So I'm going to take my yellow ochre and white pure now. A little touch of another colour to dull it down. We'll just see how it goes. So white and yellow ochre, the tiniest touch into it. Just give that a test on here. Too light. A bit darker yet. Still a bit light, but I don't want to be much darker than that really. Wee touch of that, yeah, the tiniest touch just to make it a bit browner. There we go, that's better. Now we can go over this with the brush. I don't want to lose all my darks in this, but we can just drag the brush across, the tip of the brush across, giving the effect of the stonework, and we'll let the dark underpainting just glow through. So techniques, different techniques for every single thing we're doing almost, but all done with the same brushes and the same paints. There's no need to spend lots and lots of money. We've got these colours to use. You can do nearly everything with them. Just by letting that underpainting glow through here. Go back and put some details on other windows and things later. Let's just get the basic. Got less light just here, more light just there, on this edges here. Just coming down the edge there into here. Same over here as we bring these lights in. Get the feeling of these beams that are coming up here. With a finer brush, but not really need to. Make the brush into a blade as much as we can, just to come down in between these windows. And then, so still using the big brush, as you can see. And this colour starts to come down into here. I'm going to put a little bit more water on my brush now so that I can just drag the tip around and down a bit more as it comes down. Stonework comes down here like this. Dragging it mainly vertically here with some horizontals. I've got to go warmer with this colour in a minute to get these lovely warm sandstone areas. Oh, it's raining outside today, it's a horrible day out there, so just as well to be inside doing my studio work. Right, now I'm going to take some cadmium orange into that same colour, and then into that in a moment. We'll take a bit of burnt sienna as well, so not to be too strong, but let's just have a look at that. Yes, it's quite light. We can bring that down through here and let the colours underneath just glow through. These beautiful colours we can get, and that's coming into the stonework appearing in places as well. The same sandstone is being used in the building. I'm going to add a bit of magenta to that in a moment. Just want to come back down here and finish off. I've just got some white I've left there and didn't finish off with the stonework. So a little bit of magenta into this orange, and we'll bring some pinks up into here. Lovely colours. Now a bit of burnt sienna, which is much stronger of course, and we'll come back in with some of these lovely warms. We've already got our deep cools in there, now we want some of these more warmer shadows. You can see that stone face coming up there now. Wherever the colour is and you've got it on your brush, go use it. So how quickly our painting comes together this way. One colour coming into another. The way these oranges and pinks come into the trees down here as well. So I'm still using that little bit of magenta on here now. Come down into here. Could go back with some lighter forms in a moment. So get a bit of this red coming down into the trees to link it together. I'll put a bit of white with that same colour. We've got some quite light pinks going in places down here. Almost a light blues in fact at the moment. It looks as if we're doing tons of detail, but in fact we're just doing an impression of the detail. Just to look for the difference in the colours, the warms and the cools. So we've got these warmer pinks here. I'm going to go back and do some light blues in here in a moment just to bring these warms out. Right, talking about light blues then. Again, I'm going to use a little bit of the pink. I'm going to kill the blue slightly by using a little bit of the pink in it. So white, a little touch of the turquoise. And so we quite like this. And a wee touch of that pink that we just made with the orange. And there's a bit more white in there, it's a bit lighter yet. Let's just see if we can find these very light blues, blue greys, coming down amongst this. Look at that lovely variety of colour we've got. And the next thing is going to be putting the lights into the greens, which will again counterbalance this all out again. So although this might seem a bit bright and garish at the moment, the bright greens and yellows that we're about to use will counterbalance all of this. I hope it's quite a clever use of colour. And we can pick out some of these little details with the darks at the very end as we normally do. Right, let's look at these lovely yellows here. We're going to use our lemon yellow and chrome yellow mainly, with a little bit of cerulean to make our greens now. So we'll start with the lemon yellow and a wee touch of cerulean into that. Doesn't take much to darken it down, I can tell you. And we'll start putting in this very strong green. A little bit of white in there just to give it more opacity. I do find that the lemon yellow tends to disappear otherwise. So quite yellow here. And again we use the tip of the brush to bring it up, to get the effect of the leaves breaking up into the sunlight here. Look at that effect. All these effects quite different with the one brush. A bit more yellow, I'm going to put a bit more chrome yellow into that. Make it a bit stronger in the yellows, there we go. Almost early autumn colours coming into this. Of course, if we have this colour here, the chances are it's going to be happening in the stonework a bit as well, so I'm going to have to come back into the stonework and put a bit of this yellow even into that. Otherwise there's too big a jump. Or I have to have more orange in this, one of the two. We get too big a jump otherwise. A bit more yellow ochre into this in a minute because it's getting too bright. I could use a sponge to get these textures, it'd be quite fun. But I want to stick with the brush for the moment and just try and do the whole painting with the one. Now take some more blue and take down these greens. So the same colours, the yellow and the turquoise, but I'm going to bring the greens down now by having more blue in it. So working from photographs, so we are limited by our own knowledge and what the photograph shows us. Watch where the greens come into this stonework. I'll say the colours are linking together. We've got one colour coming across another which pulls it all together. Now I'm going to deliberately take a deeper blue into that same green, and we'll start to make an even deeper blue-green look coming into here by using ultramarine in it. And I'm going to go warmer into that still. And I'll hit with a bit of Prussian now. I'm really dark with my greens. And let's come down to a really lovely deep green working into here. So Prussian and a little bit of into the same green but with a little bit of unite the painting. We'll put some branches and things in with a smaller brush. I may even need to use a rigger on this just to put some of these branches in, but we'll see about that. The painting is well on the way there. We've almost finished our painting now, so I'm going to continue this and try and get it done this evening. I'm coming down to my second to smallest brush. Just want to pick up some of these little details here of the greens and yellows. Not much light left. I'm just going to try a little bit of final paint work. So I'm going to use a bit of emerald, lemon yellow and white. And we'll just try and pick up some of these last touches of leaves a little bit more texturally now, because before I was using the larger brush and I could only use the end of the brush. Now I've got a smaller brush in my hand, I can just put in some of these lovely textures here of leaf shapes that are just coming over here and exploding out throughout here, just to get the impression of and the feeling of all these branches in the sunlight. And this filbert brush, I'm not using a round here, I'm using a filbert. It's ideal for this. As you can see, it just gives me the little leaf shapes here. Bring those right the way out and through into here. A bit more strong now. I'll put a little bit more chrome yellow into it, just to go a bit yellower. My leaves coming out. So we've got light against dark, warm against cool, rough against smooth again. And the way that they come right round into here as well. I'm going to add a little bit more emerald green into that now. As I come round into here, I just want to get a few more of these smaller but green leaves this time, this side, and not so yellowy, coming up into here. Again, I want to get the textures working. Not much daylight left outside. I want just a bit of daylight coming in on me to see what I'm doing. I want to finish this painting so there's enough light on it for you to see, even though I've got an artificial light bulb on here. And we'll use some of that yellow just a little bit now up into these trees here. Just want to get a little bit of texturing going on, sunlight through these branches here. It's not too much, just a little bit. I even just take those back. Right, back now to the details on here. So I'm going to go down to that smaller round brush now. Just make up some of my darker colour with the Prussian blue, a little bit of purple first of all. So we look at these details here. Just want to indicate now a bit more of these shapes going along here. Not a lot of detail, just a bit of picking out. And whatever windows there are here, now's the time for us to get them in. Up here as well. Just indicating these things in. Not with them in great detail. Two windows here, we'll just indicate those are there. With a little bit more warmth into that, so I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna to it. So it's slightly warmer and slightly darker. We can get this painting finished off. There we are, look how much darker that is. Almost goes to black. It isn't black, it's just a warmer dark blue. Down here, just look at some window. Just indicate them all. Don't put it in too much detail. Got a very dark window just here. Another little bit of one there, a little bit lighter. And down here there's one there. So this is our crossing the T's and dotting the I's bit at the very end. We've done our loose painting and we're finishing off with our tighter marks. Look how the difference, look what a difference that makes now. The sort of balustrade here will just indicate. Almost there, don't need to do too much more I hope. Which I've got. Now let's look at any darks here that we haven't quite finished. There the colours have sunk. And finally then, we're just getting our darks finished off. Same down here, do any little lines or striations in the rock face. This is where we can now just tidy them up and just bring a few things out here. Just finding the last dark cracks and crevices in these bits of rock face here. I'll say we're not here to do a photograph of it, we're here to do an impression of it. And these bits of branch and stuff that are coming down in the trees here. And also, I've got enough water, this is a little bit thinner now for doing this. With a fine brush, there are some branches coming down in the trees here. We can get those in. The stems and the trunks of the trees. Just indicating the tips of them. They're very broken because they come in between the branches of the tree, in between the canopy, the layers of the, like this, right down to the bottom. Don't forget to come off the bottom if you need to, and across to here. And it just shows in the photograph that there are bits of tree and dark just coming into here and through here as well. And I don't think, if you see the picture here, I don't think we can do a lot more with this. I think we've got the basics. Branch just coming up there, darks coming down amongst here. Pick up some light there, just a little bit. I've made that a bit dark, just make it a little bit slimmer. Just going to bring it down a bit. There. Bit of light coming up into here now. I'm just using a bit of yellow, ochre and white now just to finish. And I think that one is, what I will do, I'm going to go back to that medium brush again, just that very small medium. Just going to make that yellow that I was using earlier just a little bit more orange. And the reason I want that is because there's a little bit of orange going on that's like that's linking in from the cliffs a bit. So I don't want it too yellow, I just like a little bit more orange to link into the foreground here. Just coming down into here like this. I think we'll just pull things together a little more, and that orange comes into here as well. You see how that just brings that forward a little bit. And there we are, that'll do that one. Use my small brush just to sign that down the bottom again. Take a close look at it again. You see how I've used the technique of the trees and the warms and cools, the broken colour in the sky there, those three colours, and the warms and cools coming down from the buildings into the cliffs, the texturing and the branches in the trees. Come up from those trees through the cliffs into the branches there, and then we can see the building high above. Back out again, and there we go. Onto the fifth one now.